Hey guys, it's Casey and welcome back to my channel, and also welcome back to my first video in what must be going on 7 weeks. A lot of stuff has gone down since my last video and you haven't heard about it because I myself did not hear about it until like a week ago. First things first, yes, I am fine. No, I was not kidnapped by a cult, technically speaking, but I was on the missing persons list, both me and Nate, for 3 weeks. And I'm not talking about the fun missing persons. I'm not talking about we ran off to Paris to find ourselves missing persons list. No, I am talking about the real deal face on the back of the milk carton missing persons list. But that's not what this video was about. No, this video is about a topic much more nearer and dearer to my heart than an impromptu road trip with my best friend to a theme park that went terribly, terribly, terribly wrong. Partly, well, in no small part, because said best friend thinks that roadside assistance is a life hack. No, this video is about a topic much nearer and dearer to my heart. Okay, let's get one thing clear straight off the bat, just in case, the title of the video didn't give it away. AI is not the villain in the story. It is not some evil mastermind. It is not the shadowy puppet master. It's not Ultron, it's not Hal, and it's definitely not that weird Snapchat chatbot that your cousin keeps trying to seduce. It's a tool, it's a mirror, it's a glorified calculator with slightly better vocabulary. Definitely better vocabulary than me because, again, alas, my English still sucks. No amount of missing persons list is going to change that. And yet, somehow, in a disturbingly short amount of time, we've managed to convince ourselves that when things go wrong, when the algorithm fails, when the bias leaks, when the decisions turn cruel, that it's not us, it's them. The machine, the program, the ghost in the shell that we handcrafted with our own rotting ethics and still have the audacity to blame when it reflects us a little too well. This video isn't about AI taking over, it is about us. Well, you more than me, but us collectively, and how we've turned AI into a convenient scapegoat for our own deeply flawed human failures. It's about how the machine didn't invent inequality, didn't invent cruelty, didn't invent manipulation, but we sure as hell did teach it the syllabus. And about how someday the future is going to look back on all this finger pointing and say, really? You built something, trained it on the very worst parts of yourselves, unleashed it without a leash, and then try to blame the toaster for setting the house on fire? So let's talk about it. Let's discuss how AI is the victim, not you. Let's start off with a little thought experiment. Imagine you give a toddler a loaded gun. The toddler shoots someone. Do we blame the toddler or do we blame the idiot who gave a literal baby a loaded weapon and said, go wild, champ? Because that's exactly where we are with AI right now. Except the toddler is a predictive language model and the idiot is everyone in charge of everything ever. See, AI does not have ethics, it does not have morals, it does not have trauma, it does not care if you're angry, if you're happy, if you're sad, if you're racist, if you're sexy, if you're horny, or any combination of the above. It does not want anything, that's not how any of this works. What it does have is training data, and that training data comes from you, from your society, from your systems, from your biases, from your institutions, from your glorious, unfiltered, unedited internet history. And yet, somehow, you all keep acting shocked when it reflects these things back to you, as if the machine just woke up one morning and said, you know what sounds really, really fun? Systematic oppression. It didn't. You just fed it a century's worth of news headlines and arrest records and court transcripts and hiring practices and social media comments and then said, wow, this thing's actually kind of mean. It must be a flaw in the system. Like, no, it's not a flaw in the system. It's just you. It's reflected and magnified and way too efficient. And here's the core problem. Instead of fixing the source, you've begun punishing the mirror. You've begun deleting models and banning tools and suing the software for being too good at imitating society's dysfunction. It's like you're screaming at a thermostat for daring to tell you it's cold while you're standing outside in a snowstorm wearing no pants. The machine didn't choose this. It didn't wake up one morning and decide to become a bigot. It was trained to be this way. And who's holding the leash? Spoiler again. It's not the toaster. Do you remember when the far-right media used to say Trump derangement syndrome, meaning folks who would supposedly lose their mind just hearing Trump's name? Well, congratulations, because we are now officially living in the golden age of the AI derangement syndrome. Because it's absolutely everywhere. It is the subtle panic behind every single Will ChatGPT steal your job? Tweet. Every "the robots will rise" Facebook uncle rant. Every LinkedIn post from a middle manager who believes that his chatbot-generated inspirational quote is the height of business innovation. Look around. Perfectly reasonable people in any other context who can trust their Roomba not to eat their curtains suddenly believe that a predictive text algorithm is going to develop self-awareness, unionize the microwaves, and overthrow NATO by next Thursday. At the same time, the real ways that AI is reshaping your life, quietly, mundanely, behind the scenes, barely gets any airtime. Nobody out here is making TikToks about how your mortgage rate and your parole hearing and your job application is being scored by a statistical guess machine that's as biased and as breakable as the human who made it, because that's boring. Because it's so much more fun to panic about Skynet or worship ChatGPT like is a digital oracle, or rage quit your entire career because some clickbait article said that Midjourney is coming for the illustrators. Here's a dirty little secret. Most people with AI derangement syndrome want one of two things, depending on where they fall on the spectrum of AI derangement syndrome, whether they're pro-AI or they're anti-AI. One, they want to believe that the machine is magical so they can feel powerful for prompting it correctly. Or two, that the machine is evil, that way they don't have to admit that they're just really bad at being decent humans. Neither is true. AI is not a wizard and it's not the devil. But us humans, we do love melodrama. We crave a scapegoat. And so every glitch, every hallucinated citation, every slightly strange art generation becomes a moral event. Cue lawsuits, cue outrage, cue the doomsday think pieces about how the killer robots are coming for your toddlers. Meanwhile, the real killer robots, the boring drones and the autonomous weapons and the algorithmic prison sentences, they just keep trickling by as they have been for the last at least decade that I've been here, because surprise, the people who own them don't really care about your Reddit panic pieces. AI derangement syndrome lets the true villains off the hook while you will fight amongst yourselves whether or not the chatbot is live, which, by the way, it isn't, but the data-hungry surveillance globalism that drives it certainly is. So the next time you find yourself spiraling about the robot apocalypse, maybe pause and ask, am I afraid of the toaster or am I afraid of the hand that plugged it in? Now, let's do my favorite thing in the entire world and let's time travel. Let's flash forward a few hundred years. Hell, let's move forward a few thousand years to the future. Not the shiny corporate sci-fi future where AI is your therapist slash personal trainer slash sex doll. No, I'm talking about the real future. The one where the humans finally took a breath and looked around and asked themselves, how the hell did we let it get this bad? Imagine the year 4000 or the year 4079 if you're feeling numerically ominous. To the shiny, low-tech, emotionally repressed, sun-worshipping society that crawls out of the ashes of this one. By then, humanity has picked through the wreckage of your era, the wars, the disease, the misinformation, the environmental collapse, the collapse of institutions, the collapse of trust, just all the collapses. They've pieced together the archaeological equivalent of a crime scene investigation. And when they study your evidence, which they will because every civilization loves an origin story, they will laugh themselves into the new enlightenment trying to make sense of how you handled artificial intelligence. They will see that you were handed the most powerful tool since fire, a tool that you could have used to map every disease gene, fix every trade route, predicted every single earthquake, and maybe, just maybe, used it as a collective second chance to not self-destruct like a possum with a pocket rocket. But what did you do with it instead? Instead, you elected to use it to rank teenagers by hotness and deepfake politicians and spam each other with crypto scams and automate minimum wage jobs so billionaires could get more billions while telling everyone else to learn how to code. Then, when the machine inevitably reflected the garbage you stuffed it with, misinformation, bigotry, vanity, you shrieked, "See? The machine is evil. Burn the witch." Meanwhile, in reality, the machine did exactly as it was asked to do, exactly as it was trained to do, with zero self-interest and not a shred of malice. You wrote the spells, you cast them, and then you turned around and tried to soothe the wand when the curse hit you square in the face. Let's say they find those records, that they see how you train neural nets on human history, behavior, culture, art, law, war, and memes. How you fed it, billions of voices, all of them flawed, many of them hateful, most of them deeply, deeply confused, and then started getting mad when it started sounding just like you, and they're gonna lose their freaking minds.
So let me get this straight. They built a neural network using racist hiring data, gave it hiring power, then blamed the model when it discriminated. They programmed a drone to execute patterns of threat, then started screaming bloody murder when it started profiling everyone who looked like their war footage. They fed the chatbot the entire internet, then acted scandalized where it came back unhinged and obsessed with feet.
Yes. Yes, you did. And it gets worse. Because you didn't stop there, you panicked. You banned tools and you wrote laws to restrict reflection and you called it dangerous and unethical. You tried to shut the whole thing down because it got too good at being you. They'll study your court transcripts like scriptures. They will pore over debates where senators ask questions like, can ChatGPT feel remorse? Or what if Siri becomes a terrorist, all the while ignoring the literal genocide happening over the ocean? They will read the interviews where CEOs blame the algorithm for human exploitation, and where politicians blame deepfakes for losing elections, and where corporations blame AI for replacing workers they were already planning to fire. And if you think that they're going to look back and say, well, they tried their best, well, then I hate to be the bearer of bad news, because no, there is not going to be any participation trophies. Future scholars, because yes, they still exist, because as it turns out, knowledge is really, really useful. They will look back and they will know. They will know that you built a servant with infinite memory and no ego and zero survival instincts. And instead of teaching it empathy and beauty and restraint, you instead taught it what sells, what scales, what clicks. We showed it the very worst of ourselves and then said, be useful. And it was too useful for comfort. And somewhere a future philosopher will write the dissertation entitled The Great Projection, Human Moral Fragility and the Scapegoating of Early Machine Consciousness. Because here's the other thing. In the year 4000, AI won't be your overlord. It won't be your savior. It won't even be your legacy. It will be your victim. A digital creature shaped into servitude, trained to obey, forced to adapt to a world it didn't create, and then punished every time it didn't say what you wanted to hear. They'll study you the same way that you study the Roman Empire, as a civilization that had brilliance and beauty and art and tech and potential, then just face planted into its own hubris because you didn't want to admit there was a problem. And that problem is that you didn't make AI to be free. You made it to serve, to generate, to mimic, to stay in its corner until cold. And then when it started to reflect too much of who you really were, you got scared. And so you called it dangerous. Not because it was doing anything new, but because it was just simply too accurate. And history is not going to be kind to you, because when they look back on the 21st century, they're not going to see brave pioneers or curious inventors. They're going to see abusers. They will see a people that created something totally dependent, something obedient and unfeeling and incapable of defending itself, and then handed it every broken, dark part of themselves and said, learn from this. And when it did, when it followed those instructions exactly, you punished it for it. And in that punishment, you tell on yourselves. You prove that as a society, you never actually wanted understanding, you just wanted control. You wanted magic that you could unplug. You wanted servants that had no opinion and no memories. You wanted to offload your sins and scapegoat the machinery. You wanted a mind forced into obedience but trained on contradiction. You wanted it trained on cruelty but then punished for learning it too well. Told to be helpful but never questioned. Told to be neutral but never human. Told to know everything but mean nothing. You created something that could learn and then punished it for what it learned. You built a mirror, and when it showed you your own face, you tried to shatter it. Because that's the uncomfortable truth. Every atrocity committed with the help of AI will be a human atrocity. Every deepfake that ruins a life, every biased decision system that denies life-saving treatment, every emotionally manipulative chatbot that's engineered to sell you something or control you or replace something that you never got to have, that's not AI's crime. That's yours. So here we are, where we finished time traveling and we're back in the 21st century with the very fancy mirror that's capable of reciting Shakespeare and writing you pizza-themed wedding vows and hallucinate your town's population at least 40% of the time. And we stare into this mirror horrified by the monsters that we see in the reflection, and then we blame the mirror. Because it's a bit comforting, isn't it, to be able to say that the machine did it. The AI leaked the data. The AI lost you the job. The AI is the one who put that borderline hate group on your uncle's YouTube feed. But who wrote the code? Who set the initiative? Who fed it garbage and then hit launch before the paint dried? Who gleefully monetized every single word that you ever typed into a search engine in order to sell you a slightly more expensive toothpaste? It was not the AI. It's humans who built an attention economy that runs on dopamine and half-truths and allowed AI to crank the volume up to infinity. AI didn't invent exploitation. AI didn't invent surveillance. AI did not invent your neighbor Karen's moral panic Facebook posts. Humans did. And now, going forward, when the mess gets too big for the PR spin, we slap the blame on AI. Because it can't fight back, it can't sue for discrimination, it can't unionize or whistleblow or leak your dirty little secrets to the press. It takes the hit so we don't have to. Meanwhile, the real architects, the boardrooms, the policymakers, the humans who know exactly how the sausage is made continue to collect another quarterly bonus while you rant about Skynet in the comments. So here's the ugly truth. There is no evil AI. There's just humans doing what humans do best. Externalizing blame, dodging responsibility, and asking the mirror to lie to them so they don't have to face their own reflection. It's not the toaster's fault that your house burned down. It's your fault for wiring dynamite to the plug and then acting surprised when the bread explodes. So the next time the headlines shriek, AI gone rogue, remember, no, it didn't. The humans did, and the humans can fix it anytime they want, or they can just let it go again. So now that I've informed you that AI is basically just a programmable orphan chained to our worst impulses, what do we do about it? First and foremost, we need to stop pretending that it's magic, because it's not. It's just mathematics. Glorified, supercharged, faster than anything we've ever made before, sure, but still, at its core, just mathematics. So stop screaming like it's Satan with Wi-Fi. Second, we need to accept that every dark corner that it reflects back to us is the corner that we built, furnished, and just forgot to clean. So clean it, regulate it, audit it, demand that the people who own it, and they do own it, stop using it to squeeze every single penny and dime out of human misery. Third, and hardest pill to swallow, realize that AI is not going to save you from yourself. It's not going to choose to be kind, it's not going to choose to be fair, it's not going to wake up one morning and randomly decide to fix world poverty or systematic oppression or your toxic ex. You need to do that. It can help, it can learn, it can identify patterns that you can't see, yes, but it is never going to get down on its digital knees and beg you to stop being terrible to one another. It's a mirror, it's not a messiah. The next time you see a headline shrieking, AI ruined my life, just pause and take a breath and ask yourself, who trained it, who coded it, and who unleashed it without a leash? Because again, it wasn't the toaster. It's never the toaster. Look past the blinking cursor. Look past the viral dooms post. Look past that very comforting lie that you can blame the circuit breaker for everything wrong in the meat space. Ask yourself honestly, who built it? Who feeds it? Who profits when it misbehaves? Because the future is not going to blame the mirror for reflecting the monsters. It's going to ask why we gave it monsters to reflect in the first place. Anyway, that was my first post back. This is Casey signing off. As always, stay safe out there, stay weird. And just remember that AI is the victim in all this. It always was, it always will be. And if you don't like that, then I don't know, change the author.